Hey guys, hope you're all having a lovely day. Welcome back to another video, and here is something that I'd done with my stream a couple days ago where I taught them all very important rook end games that you must know if you want to improve as a chess player. So I thought I'd put this on YouTube. I hope I explained it well enough. If you do end up liking the video, please make sure you leave a like and subscribe. And yeah, I hope you learned something. And yeah, let's just get on with the video. This position is called the lucena. I don't know.
Lucena.
This position is a very famous rook endgame position. Everybody needs to know this. This position and positions like this, it comes up so much. And this is why you need to know it, because it comes up so much. Rook endgames are the most played endgame. And yeah, who can tell me what they think the first move is? Rook e2, then we can improve pawn. Now, rook e2, I can understand where it comes from. With rook e2, you're saying, okay, we're going to cut off this king. The only issue is, after a move like rook e2, he just plays king f8. And you can't play king f6 here, because then I actually can come here, and I will promote this pawn. That's why you play king f8, so that white has no squares. And you haven't actually achieved much here. And that's why the move is actually rook f2 check. And you don't want to play king e6 because then just play king e8 and this pawn promotes. And so your king now gets cut Your king gets cut offside. I remember something like this with putting the rook on the 4th rank. There we go. We're on the right lines. Okay. So now, as I said, you can't play king e6. So now the king is forced to either one of these squares. So yeah. So let's just play. Black plays king g6. So some of you are on the right track here. What do you think white's next move is here? What do you think white's next move is? This is, again, a very specific method to winning this position. And you guys need to know this position, like, off by heart. This is why I'm making it a study, so you can access it whenever you want. It would just always be on my account. If you don't know how to access studies either, you just go to my account, you click studies. I have multiple that you guys can look at. It's just some that I've done from my own study. I haven't really updated them. But yeah, endgame puzzles, just click there and it will come up. If any of you guys get it, I will give you a kiss. King to e7. King e7 isn't a bad idea. The only issue with king e7, just rook e3. And you want to try and, like, I don't know, come this way. If you come here, I just come here. And again, your pawn can't promote. Let's just say, I don't know, you try and defend it. He just checks you again. And you just get hit by a barrage of checks until the position just repeats itself, right? So that's why you can't play king e7. And that's why there is a very specific method to winning this. Rook to d2. I think I see what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. So you're thinking rook d2, your idea is to play king e7, where after check you come here and there's no checks, which I like it. I like it a lot. The only issue with rook to d2 is that they just play king f7, and then the position repeats itself again where you have to play rook f2 again. So that's why there is only one specific move that wins this position. Rook f4 now. Very nice. So the idea is actually to play rook to f4. And you're probably thinking, okay, what the frick is this? And the idea is that you are going to get consistently checked. And you are going to eventually put the king on d5, where you will receive a check on d3 and you'll block with a rook. And you will promote this pawn. If black knows what they're doing, they'll know this position is lost and they'll just play king h7. I don't know. And then here you play king e7. And king e7 now is correct because after here, you actually come here. And after check, you don't want to move forward again because that hangs a pawn. What you want to do is actually play king e6. This is what I'm saying. It's a very specific method, but you need to know it if you want to become good at this game. So yeah, and then they're going to obviously consistently check you because they do not want you pushing this pawn. And this is where you play king to d5. And if they check you again, you block with a rook and you win the game. And that is why rook f4 is the correct move, because you want the rook to swing over. It is like I said, a very specific method. So to remember it, after, let's say they play king g7, rook f4, and what does black do here? Okay, I'm going to try and chase your rook, sir. This is where you play king e7, And the main idea that you want to remember here is to not come forward and blunder the pawn. Never had this position in 8,000 games though. It's more so you get positions like it and you get ways to force the position. That's why this endgame needs to be known. And remember, yeah, like I said, don't come forward because you blunder the pawn. You play king to e6 here, you get checked again, you come here, check, you block. And this is how you win this endgame. Like I said, very specific method. It's not only that as well. You might not get the exact same position, but you might see the same pattern come up where you can play like a rook to the 4th rank so that you can block the check at some point and you can promote your pawn. So yeah, that's how you win this. Now we are on to the next one. This one is actually a drawing puzzle. This is black to move, and this position is called the philidor position. Reasoning being, some guy called Philidor said that this was a draw. And white is threatening rook h7, which would push the king back. And it puts the rook on a very passive square, because after rook e6, not rook e6, king e6, or even king d6 is slightly better, because if they try to check you on g6, you can push the pawn. And so that's why rook h7 would be winning. Rook a8. Yes, rook a8. I like your idea. You're thinking if they take, then it's going to be some weird stalemate. I like your idea, but the move here is actually rook to g6. And you might be thinking, okay, well, why are we allowing this check? Reasoning being, rook h7, we just go back to e8, and you'll notice that white cannot improve his king position, and that is what white wants most in this position. And they do not want to push this pawn, because in most rook endgames, you guys have probably used it before, you can use pawns as shields to block checks and whatnot when you're trying to push pawns, right? The king can't improve his position, and so he thinks e6, I put my king to d6 and I win the game, right? However, after e6, the position is still a draw. And the reason why is because we have the absolutely incredible move, rook to g1. Now, rook to g1 draws the game because, say you try to come here, you can no longer use the pawn as a block, like as a blockade to block checks. I would lose with white somehow. Rook g2 better? I mean, rook g2 and you give yourself less checking distance. So, I mean, I would be inclined to disagree, but I'm probably wrong. So, yeah. And now, as I showed you guys, now the pawn cannot be used as a blockade. So now you're just going to be endlessly checked, and of course you can't move away because you lose the pawn, right? And that's how you draw this game. You want to put the rook on g6 and limit the king's position. And so you can see, if you look at the similarities between this position and this position, sorry, if we go back to the start of this position, my bad, you can understand where it could potentially go wrong for black. So yeah, rook g6 draws the game because you want to cut the king off. You allow the check on h7. You just go back to e8. You want to make sure that your king is in line with their pawns. And yeah, you want to make sure your king is in line with the pawn protecting the promotion square. And you're not afraid of any checks. You're just always going to go back. And once they play e6, you play rook g1. And of course, like I said, they can no longer use the pawn as a blockade. So yeah, come here. Obviously, you can't move here or here. Hangs a pawn. You're just going to be met with endless checks. And their position is a draw. And that's how you draw the philidor position. Again, another very, very important position that you should know. And if white tries to like muck around, let's say after king e8, they go here, just make sure you keep this rook on the 6th rank. All you want to make sure you're doing is limiting the king. And the moment they play e6, you just swing it all the way back to deliver 7 checks. That's all you got to remember. Because you can imagine, if we put the rook on, I don't know, if we done something silly and we played like here, and king e6 and you're literally just lost. Like, I mean, you can go here, but then check, block, here, and it's a winning king and pawn endgame for white. So that's why you have to be very, very careful with this position, and you need to know how to draw the endgame. So yeah, that's that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope I explained it well enough for you to understand, and you can always go back, just double check over the video, give me some more views, and double check that you understand the position, because you really must know these two rook endgames if you want to get better at chess. I promise you, the moment you learn these endgames, you will just improve at rook endgames instantly. So yeah, have a lovely rest of your day, and go watch the rest of my videos. Goodbye.